I'm just logged in. Just
சரி,
a
நல்ல ஸ்க்ரீன் டைம் கண்டினியூஸாக நல்லதில்லை, ரெஸ்ட். Yeah, we'll get started here. Right? I don't want to delay or drag your day too much. F5, ah? Okay, right. So the essence of this, you can call it a session, this short discussion, right, or short brief, will be on some of the case studies which I have actually lifted or I have learned from Nielsen Norman Group's website. Okay, right. So that will be one initial half, and then I'll quickly rush through some standard rules. I was happy to see somebody yesterday use the word Schneiderman's rule of design. Okay. Santosh, is my fan noise disturbing or what? Is it manageable?
No, sir.
The AC room, my daughter is attending a class. She will not attend it.
Sir, yeah.
Okay, right. So some of the famous issues, and then maybe get back to some Snyderman's rule. These are gold standards, right? So at least I quickly go through. Most of you should have encountered it in some form or the other. So that will be the later half of my discussion now. Okay, right. So this first interesting guideline or observation from Nielsen's team, right? They say this password masking business should stop. These are again still HCA issues. Okay. Password masking meaning or matlab, most of the websites, right, where you are, it's an authenticated login setup, right? You actually are given a user ID and a password. Passwords are typed in a bulleted fashion or a starred fashion, right? All this stuff. I will not go line by line in the slide and all, right? But I'll tell you the essence, right? See, why was this, or how did this design for password masking come about in the earlier years? Earlier, right, the computing setup used to be such that young people used to share one computer, or you possibly were, I think I still remember 1985 or some 88 or sometime and all, when internet was about to come or it was starting, right? There are only very few browsing centers in the country, in the city where we lived, right? And some 20 rupees per hour or something we used to pay. Those days, owning up an email account was almost like a bank account. Okay. I have xyz at hotmail.com, right? Those setup, it was fine, okay, right? Because you used to go to a public space, you had people looking upon over your shoulders, right? Yeah, maybe browsing center, maybe the nearby system also was there. Somebody else can look at your password, right? So that is where this theory of bulletizing it came, right? To enhance the security of the design, to make it more secure. Now, I'm not saying passwords should not be there. That is not the intent. But today you are living in an age where it is no longer young people sharing one computer, but one person. It's almost the reverse, right? It's almost one person having m computers, right? You have a smartphone on hand. I think that's the way Kenneth did, right? He had one phone for chat, one phone for something else, and then an Apple tab or Apple Mac, whatever you call, right? So given this day and age, right, most probably it is almost always a one is to one access, right? With nobody looking on your shoulder, the usability community strongly feels this stop or this password masking business must stop. I think at least Windows has brought in that some I symbol comes right towards the right so that it makes it visible. They are going one step further, saying make the password by default visible. If somebody wants, give them an option of disabling it, right? Because it is no longer helping it is no longer meriting the situation it was brought in for. Right? So this is one strong observation from the Nielsen's team. Okay, next slide. Now, what is the problem with that bulleted setup is you don't have this feedback, right? Human beings are always interested in feedback, right? And what you type as it is with this keypad model, right, where you don't get that flow of typing. Bulletizing it will only bring down the level of feedback. Okay, right? And what are eventually people doing? In the name of increasing security, if you have this setup, people are either compromising for very easy passwords like 123456, or right, you have the other option, right? You have one password for all websites, right? And unfortunately, if something goes wrong with one app or one website security, you are taken in for a toss. Okay, right? I don't know how many of you. This is actually that discussion in HCA. This is the discussion called as security versus memorability. How do I design passwords that are both secure as well as memorable, right? What is memorable for you should not be easily predictable by somebody else, right? So that is where they say, at least I cannot say the actual rule. You can have some rules which will govern your password, okay, right? For example, I'm not saying your entire date of birth, some the year field of the birth, then some landmark day, right? So some pattern you can form out of it, or this is what we call as a rule, and then maybe, right, you will not be worried that. And if you are very close, I want it specific to the app, then connect with some specific number or some character or symbol which is associated with that app. Form some rule with which you construct your password, then it is both secure as well as memorable. Okay, right? Because I was talking about this password issue. And I saw this discussion as well in Alan Dixon. How do you create passwords which are, because in the process of making it memorable, right? People are adopting very extreme solutions like overly simple passwords or copy paste operations, right? That's not the way around. Okay. So I think people have largely understood the importance of, this is what we call as abandoned legacy design, right? Don't just keep carrying forward things without looking at the present scenario, the present evolution in IO devices, all that stuff, right? Abandoned legacy design is another classic area in usability. Okay. Legacy is good, agreed, but if it is not helping the cause, abandon it. One more that you will see. Next slide now. Okay, that abandoned legacy, one more you will see is alphabetical sorting. I'll come back later, right? So one more observation on the web, right? These web pages, I think somewhere I told today morning also, right? People normally follow a F-shaped reading. They never read pages in full, right? Over the years, the usability community at Nielsen, right? The study they have done, they have observed that 70% of the occasion, people spend their time on the left half of the screen. That's almost like the outer F here. Without leaving the inner bar of the F, the outer lines of the F symbol. Okay, right? So almost predominantly 70% screen time is on the left half. Right half gets only 30%. Okay, so all these rules will sync well. This rule, my inverted pyramid rule I told, right? Normally people pay more importance at the top, and importance gradually comes down to the tip of the pyramid. All these will sync well with one another. Okay, so when you develop websites or when your team develops websites, you are possibly a project manager or them, somewhere ensure that you are not violating such core things. You put it in the middle of the screen, right? Possibly it's not going to get noticed at all. Next. I think it should be vertical span. Yeah, I think this newspaper discussion I did give, right? So why does the newspaper industry still thrive? Human beings don't read the same way on print as we read it on the soft medium. Okay, so I think the larger essence is this percentage of time focusing on the left half and the right half screen. Okay, next. Most important section. I think this is what the same thing, right? Okay, I think one more specific we have seen in search, SERP pages means search engine result pages here. In the HCI community, SERP term stands for search engine resultant pages. Okay, right. So in that list of pages, right, Google has done extensive research. Some of which I talked even in the morning session along with Harini. Right, they are actually interested in next generation search, right, where people's facial reactions are used to guess whether the search was productive or not, all this stuff. Even there, even in those, or it's a very narrowed down domain, right? Search engine result pages, even there, they find that 81% occasions the fixations are on the left half. So which means it is even more rigid there. Okay, right? See, keep secondary content to the right. That's what we mean by 70:30. Next. So you're not doing a screen reading. I don't want to, right? That's not the intent of the discussion. It is just a flare here, okay, right? Go look at usability website. Plenty of articles are there, okay. Okay, I don't know where is that alphabetical sorting. Santosh, can you quickly open? Okay, we'll go through this. There is also one more discussion on alphabetical sorting. Maybe case studies too. Okay, if you not downloaded that file, it is not. You have downloaded that file, huh? Ah. Okay, I think it should be there here. Yeah, maximize. So as we said, horizontal perspective of the user, right? Okay, I don't know how many of you that the morning statement of newspaper and all that we gave, right? The larger importance is the human eye picks up more things when it comes on the horizontal spectrum than on the vertical spectrum. Okay, right? A line break is a costly affair on the human eye, right? So the continuity is lost. I'm not saying you can't put every content on. That's not the point. Larger point, right? So vertical scrolling is next issue of interest to the web community or the usability community. The same theory I told you in the morning discussion, right? View it as two folds only. 80% of the occasions they have seen people to be following the first fold. Above the fold is where the people's focus is largely on, right? And if at all you have three folds, right? Above the fold is 50% and 70%, 74% is approximately on the first two screen folds. Okay. Good. I think so. The larger importance that you people should pick up is, right? The user's retention time is very critical, right? And I think I didn't bring that article specifically. Google has done one analysis which says people who, maybe you can go and search the paper later if you want, or I'll pass on the paper somehow, right? People who leave web pages, right? They don't take, they are early leavers, right? So yeah, that's what that people are ready to say only 7 seconds within Google website pages. I think that time is somewhere between 10 to 20 seconds for other pages. Okay. So they take a decision whether to leave a page or not very quickly within that less than 10-second period. Let's assume that threshold. Okay. But if they stay beyond that, right, they are likely to spend more time. Half an hour is just one example I give. Okay, don't take it as a hard value. So what is the larger intent? So your role as a designer should be interested in creating designs or web designs such that you don't lose them in that first 10 seconds. Right? So that is where all this theory comes in, right? Above the fold, horizontal attention, F pattern, all that stuff is basically to create that cushion in the first leading half. I will catch the user, okay? Or this is what we call as catch the users when they are young. Because if you don't catch them when they are young in your website, early first 5 seconds or 10 seconds, you're going to possibly lose them for a lifetime. Okay, right? So that is one theory around. And I'll tell you, I don't know how many of you are mathematically bent people in this audience. Don't threaten us with any equations. That's not my intent. Google did a strong analysis of these timing issues and all, and they said user retention time follows the negative variable distribution. They have observed it. They have done some strong scientific study and all. Okay, right? I don't know how many of you have recalled variable distribution. You should have heard it somewhere along with your probability distributions. Okay, variable is typically used to model. I think the ONGC safety community, they may remember well. Okay, the failure scenarios, right? When is this bulb likely? I think that bulb example comes to me here, right? My engineering faculty, maths faculty taught that. Okay, right? When is this bulb likely to fail? What is the likely failure probability of this product and all, right? They are best model using variable distributions. Okay, why is it named? This is a case of a negative. This is what they call. Positive aging and negative aging in websites. Okay, right? See, when you are, or mean time between failures, spot answer, correct, right? Mean time between failure is typically modeled using variable distribution. Okay, I am not getting into the details of the study. Google's observation says this user retention time, right? It is almost like a negative variable curve. They observed it, right? They observed that people who leave early, right? That's what. As you say, okay. No, you use these two words, positive aging and negative aging. Santosh, I have not logged into the other room. I hope it is fine. Okay. Because I'm seeing only 70 in this room now. There's no point in echoing there. Okay. Right. See, what does positive aging mean? See, I think the typical retirement setup, right? 60-year-old people are deemed to be less efficient, right? Over 30-year-old people, right? That is one way of looking at aging, right? So the younger the age, right? They are deemed to be efficient. The higher the age, they are deemed to be less efficient. Okay, so that is one case. Negative aging is exact reverse. Okay, if a product has not failed in the first 10 seconds, if something is to fail, that is the other way of looking at aging. If something is to fail, it will fail early. Are you understanding what I'm meaning by negative aging? Okay, right? If something is not failing in the first 1 year of the product, within the first 6 months of the product, within 10 seconds of the website, the likelihood that it will fail in the next 50 seconds or next 15 minutes is that much low. You can't be accurate, right? So all this modeling is done, and their observation is catch the user within, I think you can apply this theory for any website here. 7 seconds is for search, possibly 10 to 15 seconds for any website. You should convey what you wanted to convey within the first 15 seconds of their time on the website. Okay, right? I don't have the content here. This is I'm talking about based on my classroom discussion. Okay, I didn't want to make it sound too technical. Next slide, Santosh. I hope that is that. I think this F pattern they have got. Next. Bold text fonts, right? All this they will do. Next, I think that alphabetical sorting is there. They all this, yeah. Okay. One more feature often misused. Okay, this is again Nielsen's the case study discussion, right? Any product you go, every product you go, things are alphabetically sorted A to Z. Right? At least in academia we have seen. Okay, the list of people working in this institute is alphabetically sorted from A to Z. All that stuff is fine, but now see it depends on the use case, right? Or what scenario are you actually pitching the website for? Okay. Right. For some domains like textile products, for some domains like shoe products and all, right, you are actually coming with a website which will sell some garments, textiles, or even your shoe as a product, right? Now, what is the point of even this people pages in academia I told, right? A to Z, okay. And where is it supported actually? The directory of people or something, okay. Normally, when I come to they support a search feature of search people in the website, and it is alphabetically sorted. But when I'm searching for some person's name, I possibly don't know even their name, right? I'm talking in the context of websites, okay, right? So blindly adopting an alphabetical sorting in all places is not a good go, okay, right? Some items have an inherent logic. That's what I mean, okay. So where does it help? Where is alphabetical sorting helping? Right? In a website or in an Aadhaar registration website where you are filling up your details of registration, right? Your state detail as nativity state, okay. So there sorting it by state wise, it is fine, right? I think we do that, right? The moment the state tab comes, we press a T automatically. I think it first goes to Tripura and then Tamil Nadu or something around. Telangana and Tamil Nadu or something. 2 presses of T takes me to Tamil Nadu, okay, right? So I hope people are getting it, right? Don't assume it as blindly rule out alphabetical sorting, not the case. In situations like states, right, where there is some inherent ordering in place, right, that is fine. Your typical alphabetical sorting there is fine. Next slide, Santosh. I hope that textile example or something. Shoe sizes, right? XL, 3A, 4A and all. This is not a case where you should actually live with the typical alphabetical sorting, right? Either go from the maximum double, triple XL to the smallest size, or the larger essence you should take is, yes, sorting may help. Sorting is a way of grouping things, but sort it relevant to the product on hand. Product on hand, or what are you trying to categorize and show to the user, okay, right? I think, Santosh, enough of case studies. You can go to that. I think reset and all will take that too much time then, okay? You can go to that date 1. They have promised on 4:45, right? I don't know. Talk what, correct. Yeah, Maximize. I think most probably people should have heard about this name at least somewhere. Schneiderman, right? Again, famous for coming up with rules of interface design, right? I quickly go through them. I think he was associated, or he's associated with the University of Maryland HCA lab, okay, right? So whatever solutions you give in your design or your design solutions, right? First place, ensure that you will achieve consistency. Psi for consistency, right? Maybe let's say you are coming up with some 15 different overall web pages as part of your home page. From there, let whatever choices you make, dialogue patterns that you choose, layouts, commands, all that stuff, there should be some. If you are not consistent in your own design, don't expect users to get accustomed to it, okay, right? So there should be some consistency in your designs per se, okay? And when you design solutions, right, design them keeping both the novice and the expert user in mind. The second point, right, enable frequent users with shortcuts, right? I think novice you understand, right? What is a novice user? Expert, I think the name is giving it. Well, whom do you mean by novice user? Non-technical users, first-time users, they are starting to use the product first time, right, 2-3 times only, they use all of them, they are grouped into novice. I think it is dragging here. Google, in fact, classifies search users as either, you can go, I'll just point it, you go and read later, okay. Let's say search team, they differentiate search users as they are either navigators or explorers. Plenty of materials there on that as well, okay. Right? The largest suggestion in the design community, don't force anything on let the design be accommodative to both class of users. For the novice users, you may have to give many more user interface options, right? The learning curve is slow for them, okay. But then a novice user will not remain a novice user forever, right? Initially, maybe I will use file save option, okay. But over a period of time, for us in your Word to save a file, what is the shortcut here? In Microsoft Word to save a file's content. That's a Control S, Alt F4 to close, Control C, Control E, all that stuff. This is the difference. Initially, people may be new, they may like to use your UI feature and get it done, but you should also have, I think it's also called as keyboard accelerators or something, okay, right? I think we call it shortcuts in the computing setup, but you should maybe in a real world setup or some interaction design setup, right? You can see this as flexibility of solutions. More than one way of achieving the same thing without ending up confusing the user. Okay, next. This feedback is very crucial here. If you take some input from the user, right, ensure that your design will always give some informative feedback back. Right? You should feed the user back with some, right, I am processing, 50% of it is done. Right? Some feedback, always, there are websites which I have seen, right? I think that AICT was one. I think now it is fine, I think. Right? No, not being this time was much better than the last time we saw. Okay. Right. So it is not be that take all user input, and I'll tell you one example. My bashing comes, okay. What is this IRCTC? Yeah? I think the old people at least will know. These days people don't travel, that's a different story. IRCTC, what it used to be famous for? Correct, railway booking, right? I really lost the pain of it. Yeah? I'm talking about not recent design of IRCTC, 10 years back or so, okay. They will take all inputs from the user here. Date of travel, date of journey, red bus, I think he meant, okay, right? Date of journey, when do you want, which class, right? All the information they'll take, some 10 fields, 10 text boxes they will take user input. And finally, when you say book the ticket, right? They'll come up with a beautiful message that says, this train does not support this class, right? And this train does not run on this day, okay? And I'm saying, or I'm agreeing it is not the design. Now, this is what is meant by why take unnecessary inputs, clog the user. That is where design comes, right? And ensure that any input that you take from the user, you keep the user always informed, right, of it. Okay, I think one more clue I'm getting in, right? I don't know how many of you have you heard this term called as loading bars? When your Gmail loads, right, and nowadays the loading bar is different, you used to see one long vertical bar, blue color bar, which used to get filled up, right? And there were stripes which were actually getting filled up. They are called as loading bars. Why? Progress bars, percentage of task completed. They are all nothing but mechanisms to convey feedback. I am on the task which you gave, whether it is determinate, indeterminate, much more discussions are there, okay? But ensure that you will give some form of feedback, okay? Right? And I know this is what I used to share joking in the class. Loading bars, design of loading bars itself, right? Their challenge is how do I trick the user into the design. I'm not talking on technical part of it and all. When there is YouTube has a broken star loading bar, right? Different loading bars you see, right? And I think your Windows has this spinning wheel loading bar, pulsating loading bar. Many types are there, okay, right? That community of researchers, their focus is how do I trick the user into believing that things are happening quickly. Don't switch your site. That's another area of research. Okay, let me not drag you too much on that. Okay, So feedback is very crucial, right? And then when you design dialogues, that's what I meant, right? There is interaction happening, right? You give some input, or your system is taking some input from the user, then gives back some output, right? So when you are designing dialogues, ensure this concept of closure also being satisfied. Okay, I think I'll give you an example to better connect, right? Because what do you mean by closure property? I think people in the design community, right, they all will know well, right? I come in with the objective of performing something that the design you go in for should clearly convey whether that objective was met or not. That is what we mean by design dialogue suite, closure, right? Let's say I want to bolden a document, right? Or bolden some text in the document, right? I choose I think at least in Word and all it is immediate, right? What you see is what you get. The word is called as a what you see is what you get editor here. Okay, right? You also have LaTeX editors where it may not be immediate, but whatever be the case, if you take some input, take some command from the user, ensure that the effect of it is matching with what the user came in mind. The best example I can give you of this is one that I got it from Alan Dick's textbook. Okay, what are the two types of ATM you people know here? So look at the time also. Pardon me, I will finish with this golden rules of interface design here. Okay, there are some more rules, but it is not difficult. This is the standard. The rest you can pick up. What are the two types of ATMs you know? ATM matlab in the financial context I'm asking. Two types of ATMs. Somebody says SBI and Canara Bank not accepted. You have the insert ATM and the dip ATM here. Okay, I think I'll tell you the essence. In one, the card will remain in the machine for a while, whereas in the other one, you can put the card and take it out immediately and then operate. Okay, let's talk about the insert. Dip is where you put it in and take it out. Okay, insert is where it retains the card for a while. Okay, most of the bank managers in the insert ATMs, right, they were finding that people were leaving the cards within the ATM and going. Right? So the bank used to collect it and keep it. Then they used to come and collect it with the bank manager. There used to be a protocol for that. Okay. Then they started analyzing it. The flaw was not that the typical, right? Blame the user. You are forgetting to take. Okay. Okay. Can somebody connect? What is the closure issue in this example I'm talking about? Why are people prone to forgetting taking the card? Help somebody, even Shivangi, if you are there. Any guesses on why people are prone to forgetting the card in the insert ATM setup? See, when you go in, right, you go into the object of taking money, right? So that is a mental model. Okay, I want to take a mental model, or no, the prompt happened, but the prompt happened after the user left the ATM. Okay, so the problem with the earlier ATM designs was the money came out first, right? Then the receipt came, and then the card came, or whatever order. Okay. And we know what is the use of the receipt. It goes immediately into the nearby dustbin. That is the beauty of our designs here. They'll keep a receipt and then they keep a dustbin also near it. People don't even have the patience to tear it and put it, right? Anyway, these days they have stopped. People go in the objective of taking the money. For them, the card is lost. They don't have that in their mind. The moment they see the money, right? That is what I mean by closure. Okay. Then they reverse it. If you go and I think recently also I operated such an ATM. The order is reversed now. First your card comes out, you are forced to wait for the money, right? So then you notice the card, you take the card, then I think the money comes. Okay. Are people getting the larger importance, right? So ensure that closure is always satisfied. Whatever is the task you are supporting to the user. Yeah. Yeah, correct. Right? And any design that you go in for should support easy reversal of actions. So typically the Control Z. Okay, Word, if it has not become famous for anything else, it is really famous for its Control Z, right? What is the benefit of supporting a control? It will take back to my previous state, right? I think that much people should know, right? Something, I typed a document, some mistake I did, I want to go back to the earlier state, Control Z. I placed an image, I'm not happy with the placing, Control Z, right? All that stuff. And Santosh, you can go to the next slide, but I'll still talk something on that. Why do you feel as a designer, Control Z role is very important for a design to succeed? See, I have this luxury of, I can always go back to a safe consistent state, even if I'm presently moving on to an inconsistent state. Okay, so that will increase my increase my interest in testing out new features, learning the product, exploration of the product, exploration of the software, exploration of your design will be even more comfortable on the user if he has his guarantee that I can always go back to a safer state. And I was told that artists, I don't know, I saw some art registrations also, right? Softwares meant for artists, right? People who draw diagrams and all, canvas-based diagrams and all, right? Because the first art which they get, right? Even if it is the same person doing it the same way, that slight touch they may never get again. That is why they say software meant for artists and all, right? It should support a high degree of control Z. Okay, pa, right? I think I'm almost done. Last three, right? So do offer good amount of error prevention or error handling mechanism should be there. Okay, I don't approve of Microsoft Windows error handling strategy where they'll say connect to somebody, right? They're all presuming that the internet connection is there. You still have some users who may use Microsoft Word without internet connection. So what about local help, immediate help? And even if some help comes, that's of no immediate use, right? So you should have good solutions for both error prevention as well as error handling. Okay, I don't know how many of you have noticed it. Can you give us some examples, sir? Start some of the text options in some websites. It will be starred fields, right? What do starred fields mean in websites? I'm almost done here. Starred options in websites, what does it mean? Mandatory, important data, right? Aadhaar number of a person and all, right? Accept all input, then he says submit, no, you have not submitted. How are they preventing errors? They're at least putting it in red color, right? And maybe if it's a PIN code, if you are entering a 5-digit value, it has to be a 6-digit value, right? And if it is an email ID, right? These are mechanisms for error prevention, right? So flag the fields immediately, okay? And support internal locus of control. The user should always have a feeling of he is able to control even in the erroneous state, get back, all that stuff. That internal locus of control should never be lost, okay? And don't increase short-term memory load of the user. He should remember some earlier interaction, the earlier page, some inputs he gave, he should remember that, or some output came from that web page. That has to be remembered in this tab. Reduce the short-term memory load because that will put away users, right? And they will never even register it. I'll put it this way. Human beings have two forms of memory, short-term and long-term. Frequent exposures to short-term memory will only push things into your long-term memory, okay, right? So if you are creating too much overload on the short-term memory, right, they will tend to remember less, recall less, and you will never succeed even in the long-term as well, okay. Next slide, Santosh. I think it will be some other rules. Yeah, this is that. Yeah, Santosh, you can share them. I think till this slide you can share, okay. Okay, I think you go scroll down, you can give them the others if they want, they can use. And I think it should be scroll down, it should be other scientist rules. Yeah. Right. So there is slight difference between, I think the essence is still the same, but Nielsen's rules are slightly reworded or better worded. I'm not going to go through it in depth, but I'll ask my scholar to share the full slide, okay, so that you can use. Fine, Pa, thank you. I'm sorry for not living up to my word. 4:15, I think it's almost half an hour, okay. We'll meet tomorrow around at 10 o'clock. Thank you all. Bye. Have a good day. Be safe. Santosh, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.